This video today is going to be showing you how to use the light board that we have up on our balcony up in the booth, up above the stage. We're going to talk about how to program it and to use it to create lighting effects on the stage. This is specific to this type of light board. It's not exactly the same with all different types of light boards, although ours is an ETC, which most ETC light boards, which is one of the most common type of light boards used, they're pretty similar. So if you know how to use this one, then you're going to be pretty good on most other types of light boards that you might come across. So we're going to start off with the basics and then work our way up into things that are a little bit more complicated. So the first thing we're going to talk about is that all around our auditorium, we've got these plugs. We've got them on the electrics there that you can see on the stage. We also have them up in the bay lights up above the stage, above the auditorium as well. So there's all these plugs all over the place that we can plug lights into, and we can control the power to those plugs. That is called a channel. Again, a channel is any plug that we can control the power to, so that we can increase the power, which increases the brightness of the light, or decrease the power, which decreases the brightness of the light as well. So a channel, an individual plug that we can control the power to. To do that on the light board, all you have to do is type in the channel number. So if you look at each of the plugs around the auditorium, each one has a number associated with it. If we just type in that number, we'll be able to then control that plug. So we're going to control a plug above the stage. We're going to type in the number of the channel. That's all you have to do to control a channel. So we're going to type in number 5, and we're going to control channel number 5. To do that, we're going to then use this wheel here, and this is going to increase the amount of power going to that light. Okay, and as we can see here on the stage, we've got channel number 5 with that light plugged in, turned on. And if I then take that wheel down again, you can watch the light decrease. If I bring the wheel up again, you can see the light increase. You can also tell that this is happening from looking at our monitor here. You can see that channel number 5 is on there, and it's at 83%. If I bring it up higher, you can bring it up to 100%. That's full power. Okay, can't get any brighter than that. And you can see as I decrease it, that light in the background decreases as well. Okay, so that's how you control a channel. All you have to do is type in the number, and then you can tell that you're controlling that channel over here, either by, there's channel number 5 there, or you can see that you're controlling channel number 5 by it being highlighted over here. All right, so the next thing we're going to look at is a submaster. A submaster is a group of channels that we can control with one slider. So we've got all these sliders on the left-hand side of the board, and we can program those to control multiple channels at once. So we're going to take a look at how that works. So over here we've got some different channels. We're going to look at specifically, not channels, submasters. We're going to look at this submaster here. It's submaster number 30. We're going to bring it up, and we're going to see that as we bring that up, lights are going to come up on the stage. Okay. That's going to allow us then to control multiple channels. So now you can see that numbers 1 through 16 are being controlled from that submaster. So as I bring that down, you can see that that decreases. And because I kind of screwed with number 5, it's kind of making a mess for me. So let's try to Try that again. Let's see what happens here. I'm gonna bring that up. Now number 5 should be controlled in there. There we go. Okay. So we're controlling that, and you can see that it's number 30 here. That's where the submasters are located on our display. You can see number 30 being controlled. All right. So again, a submaster is an individual slider that can control multiple channels at once. And that's going to be super beneficial if we're, want to control multiple lights at the same time, or if we have certain colors in our Fresnels above the stage on the electrics, and we only want to control certain colors, but those certain colors are staggered throughout. We can then set a submaster just to control those specific channels that have those color gels in them. So submaster. The next level we're going to go to is called a cue. And a cue is where we save a set of lighting, what we want it to look like on the stage, and we use that in the future. So it's again, a cue is a set of lights saved for future use. So I can use some of my submasters here to help me set a cue. I can also use channels to set a cue. So I'm going to set it up the way that I want it to look. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the cyc wash. Okay, remember we looked at the cyc wash last time, those LED lights that shine on the cyc. Okay, this is an important number that you need to know. 295 is the channel that our cyc wash lights are on. Okay, and then if we're going to use that, we can bring up the wheel just like we did with the other ones, and you can see that the cyc wash lights are turned on. They're still that purple color from the last time I used them. Now I can't change the color on them because I haven't pushed another important button, which is the ML control button. It allows us to control the coloring of those lights. So if we look now, we can see that there is a color wheel here, and I can choose the color that I want. I'm going to choose aqua seafoam green color. Okay, so I'm going to use that in my cue. Let's see, I want some of those submaster ones that we had up, numbers 1 through 16. I only want to bring it up to about 50%, so I can see here that that's brought up to about 50%. If I check there, you can see that those lights have come up. I'm also going to turn my house lights the rest of the way off. If I don't do that, then the house lights will save into my cue. So we've turned off the house lights so we don't have all this light in the auditorium. Okay, and let's say that's what I want it to look like on the stage. So I'm going to then save that as a cue. To do so, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the record button, and then the cue button, and then I'm going to pick my cue number. So for our purposes, let's say we're starting a brand new show, and this is going to be the first scene of the show that we're doing. So we're going to record this as the very first cue in that play. So we're going to record this as cue number 1. So I'm going to type in the number 1, and then I'm going to hit enter to save it as cue number 1. So you can see that that's been recorded as cue number 1. I can also tell that here, and so it is saved there. So if I go to a different cue, say I go back, go to this cue, we'll turn that off. Looks like it's a blackout cue. All I have to do is click my go button, which is an important button here on there. It goes to the next cue. So if I click on that go button, what you're going to see is it's going to change to cue number 1. But I have some follow time, so I'm going to Gonna get rid of some stuff here so that it doesn't change on me. Just 1 second. So again, if I hit go, it goes to my cue and those lights turn on. Okay. So number 1 is saved as that set of lights. So I'm going to set the lights up the way that I want them first, and then I'm going to record them as the cue number I want. So if I were doing a same scene, I might record the next cue as number 2, so that it just changes to the next one. So that's cue. A set of lights, the way that we want them on the stage, saved for future use. All right, now there's a couple of things left I want to talk to you about. There are ways to then manipulate cues so that they work a little bit differently depending on how we want them to look. So what I can do is I can set the transition time. That's the amount of time that it takes for it to turn into my cue. So if we again go back to the last cue, it's that blackout cue. And right now my transition time is set to 0. That's what that 0 number is next to my number 1 here. If I hit go on that again, it's just going to automatically turn up. It's going to be a 0-second transition. Boom, it's on. Okay. Now, what if I don't want it to happen that fast? What if I want it to just gradually turn on? What I can do is I can change the follow time. Or not, sorry, not follow time, the transition time. I apologize. Transition time. So to set that transition time, I'm just going to hit the time button here. And I am going to choose how many seconds I want that to take. So let's say this is the beginning of the show, so I just want it to gradually turn up. So I'm going to set it as a 10-second transition time. And then I'm going to hit, again, the enter button whenever I'm saving things. So now if I look here at my cue number 1, it's now got a 10-second transition. So if I go back to the blackout cue and I hit go now, it should, instead of immediately turning to my cue, it should gradually become my cue. So I hit go, and you can see it takes 10 seconds to transition into that cue. Okay, and I can actually watch that happen here on this. If I hit go, it's going to count down that 10 seconds. Okay, so you can see it become the cue that I want it to be. So it's going to be a gradual change there. Okay, the other thing that we can set is what's called the follow time. Now the follow time is how much time between the beginnings of each cue. So I can set it up so that the cues just transition to the next cue automatically by setting a follow time. And we've got that set up here for a show that we did last year, Midsummer Night's Dream. We had a thunderstorm at the beginning of it, and you can see here on our cue 1.1, it's got a 0.3 second follow time, and that's because we wanted some flashing of light for lightning, and we can watch that happen. The follow time allows those cues to happen without me pushing the go button a bunch of times. So if I hit go one time, it should transition through a bunch of those cues. So we've got some light here, and then if we watch here, you're going to see a lightning flash in about 1 second. Boom. Okay, very gradual. Those lights originally had some blue gels in them, so they wouldn't have been so bright there on the stage. You can see that this is just constantly transitioning. So that follow time there is counting down, and then it's going to transition into that next cue when that follow time has ended. So we've got 5 seconds more before it changes. boom, lightning, and now another follow time. So it just cycles through all of those different cues gradually, depending on how much follow time we set. So to do that, we're gonna just quickly show you how to set a follow timer. So we're gonna go back to our cue number 1, that seafoam green, and we're gonna set a follow time. So let's say after this cue starts, I want it to, stay seafoam green for 2 seconds before it transitions into my my thunderstorm. So to do that, I'm going to really close to the time button that we use for transition, we're going to push the shift button, and then we're going to push delay above it while I'm holding the shift button down. It will then create a follow time. You can see that you've done it correctly here on the screen. I'm going to set then a 12-second transition. So what that will do is it will allow my cue to last that, take that 10-second transition, and then after that transition, okay, this is going to be part of that number. So there's going to be 2 seconds left where it will hold my seafoam green cue before it starts to transition. So let's watch that follow time happen here. So we're going to hit go. Oh, no, we got to go back. Sorry. Go back to the last cue before that. All right, so there's the blackout before our cue. So we're going to hit go. We got the 10-second transition happening, right? You can see the follow time is counting down. The transition is about to finish. It's finished. It's going to hold that for 2 seconds, and then it's going to start to go into the next cue. So that follow time allows us to just let cues happen. Now, we can use follow times in some aspects of technical theater, but in other aspects we don't want to use it, because obviously when actors are speaking on stage, they speak differently from night to night. They might take more pauses one night and less pauses another night, and so we can't really put follow times for everything. But if we have something that is set and is going to be consistent every single time, we can set those follow times. So for example, if we're going to play the sounds of a thunderstorm, right? We've got this recorded thunderstorm, and we want the lights to happen the same way when those sounds happen. We can use follow time to set it so that it happens the same every single time. We can also use it for dance concerts. So if they are they're playing music, that music is going to be the same every single time they perform. And so as long as we set the cues to go along with the times in the music, it's going to happen the same way every single time it's performed. So we could use it for dance concerts. We can use it for regular music concerts if the music is going to be the same every single time. Now, if the band is going to play their music slower or faster, if they're not consistent, you wouldn't want to use those follow times. But anytime you have things that are consistent, you can use those follow times. Okay? So, quick review, things that we learned. We learned about channels. We learned about submasters. We learned about cues. We learned about how to set follow times, how to set transition times, and we also learned how to use the cyc wash lights. So make sure you understand all of those things. There will be, some quizzes, some questions that go along with those ideas. So make sure you understand them well. Again, as always, if you have questions, feel free to contact me. I'd love to help you out.